Morning, everyone. Welcome to Compliance Over Coffee. It's a bit of an overcast morning this morning, but never mind. I do, if I turn the camera around slightly, just have some lovely flowers again this morning. And these have lasted 3 weeks, would you believe, these flowers? They've done incredibly well. So if you remember, last Thursday, we talked about fairy tale marketing and the dangers for you guys, what it was, and how we can be sold to. And today I want to revert that and talk about how we sell and the dangers of fairy tale marketing from a sourcer perspective going out to your clients. And a lot of people feel that they can say what they want in marketing to attract buyers who want to buy, but actually that isn't the case. And sometimes you only need to know what you know when things go wrong, but quite often that's too late and you can pay a heavy price. So you need to sit down and think about, if you're marketing now, what you're saying, and if you haven't started yet, what you're planning on saying, and in some cases, what you've been taught to say. Because the powers that be don't like us to advertise in a way that they feel that we're giving investment advice. And in part, Financial Conduct Authority, or FCA, wouldn't be very happy about that, despite the fact that they're not particularly interested in the estate agency sector per se. But as far as marketing and the investment side of things is concerned, they might at the very least report you to the Standards of Advertising Board, and also report you to trading standards under consumer protection regulations, etc., etc. So what type of thing are we talking about? I see it an awful lot on Facebook, and I'm sure that you guys do, where people will say, I have a fantastic deal. Don't miss this fantastic opportunity. This brilliant deal will be gone in hours. This deal has a fantastic return on investment. This deal will give you a much better return than you're currently getting on your savings in the bank. And I could go on, but you get the gist of what I'm talking about. Those statements imply that something is great as an investment, that returns are going to be better than what you get in the bank, and that everything will be hunky-dory. And of course, we all know that that isn't the case. But what some of you won't know is that that could be perceived as giving investment advice. And we are not permitted to give investment advice. You have to be FCA regulated to give investment advice. So we have to be incredibly careful about how we market our deals, the presentations that we put out, even what are known as lead magnets that you put out. Be incredibly careful what you put in them. And some people say to me, what about calculations like your ROI or your yield or cash flow or whatever figure it is that you're showing? Well, I sort of learnt years ago, and I'm assuming that it's still okay to do this, I haven't heard otherwise, that there isn't a problem with you putting in such figures as long as you caveat those figures with the calculation that you've used to come by them. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you put a yield in and you say that this yield is gross 9% per year, that you put a little star next to it, and at the bottom of wherever you're in, whether it's your lead magnet or your full presentation, you put a star at the bottom and you provide the calculus that you've used to come to that calculation. And the other thing that I would say is that for the purchase perspective, but not a month-on-month annual return, include your sourcing fee, because it is a cost. And a lot of sourcing agents don't include their sourcing fee in the calculations, and they should do. And such things as solicitors' fees. Any purchase cost should be involved in the purchase, what I call the purchase fees, and not the running costs, which run month on month, year on year after. So we need to be incredibly careful as to what we say to buyers. But the same can be said for sellers. And some of you may have websites deliberately built and worded to pick up sellers. Be incredibly, incredibly careful about what you say to attract sellers, because it could be deemed that you are attracting vulnerable clients in what would be perceived to be the wrong way. And by vulnerable, I mean those that are coming to you because they are distressed. And there are several levels of distress. We're not going to talk about it today. We've talked about it before if you check in the videos. But the problem with having a distressed seller is, one, if you're just starting out, you probably don't have the skill set to be able to deal with them decently, properly, and ethically. And two, even if you have got a skill set, a lot of people don't use it in the right way. They attract them to get that magical BMV, and they brag on social media that they can get 25, 30, 40% BMV, and that's why they get higher sourcing fees for their clients. But ask yourself this: could you still get a good deal for the buyer and leave the seller in a much, much better position rather than robbing them blind? Because there are other ways of making money out of property investing other than buying BMV. There are other ways of adding value. So if you go and you start advertising that you have cash buyers waiting, and actually you just have a list of investors in a spreadsheet and you haven't got a clue as to how they're going to buy the property, that is misleading at the very least. So sit down and think about how you're attracting not just buyers and how you're presenting to the buyers, but sit down and think about how you're attracting your sellers and how you're treating them, especially if they're vulnerable, if they're distressed, and we should be dealing with them in a completely different way. So that's Compliance Over Coffee for this morning. I will be back again next Thursday at the normal time, 8:30, as always. Have a fantastic weekend. I'm not sure that the sun will shine on all of us this weekend. Tony's reminded me that it's Halloween, so have a fantastic Halloween on Sunday. And by the way, the clocks go back on Saturday, which Tony's whittering at me across the road so that I don't across the room, so that I don't forget. He will be across the road, I can tell you. He's chuckling now. So that I don't forget. So it clocks back on Saturday night and it's Halloween on Sunday. That's right. He's nodding at me. I've got it right. That must be okay. So have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Oh, I've gone now. I completely lost it. Fantastic weekend. I'm going, gone. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.